Hey guys, I'm just going to run over the scalping strategy using Charlie's indicator, and I've just got something drawn up here on the chart, so we'll go through the entire thing together. I'm just going to bring up Charlie's indicator. So the first thing you have to do is change your higher time frame to the 4-hour. This is just strictly for scalping, so if you guys are playing futures and scalping, this is how I have it, is the 4-hour time frame. And then on the way down, I've just removed the fib entries from the indicator. At the moment, I'm only looking for consecutive candles on the second and the third higher time frame candle. So 4-hour time frame confirms a TPM, and I'm looking for entries on the second and the third candle only. That's currently how I have it set up. So just to show you over here on the chart, for example, if this is the 4-hour time frame, you can get your TPM turning point candle telling you that perhaps you are going to get a few consecutive bullish candles in a sequence starting from that candle. I am looking for consecutive entries on the second and also the third candle. So that's what we're going after. And of course, sometimes you have a crazy leg, like here on Dow, you can see it just went mad. That's not a TPM candle. But if it was, I mean, that's a lot of consecutive candles, all right? So you can see over here with this sequence that was short, this is a bearish TPM candle, and you only had the second and the third candle. We'll go back and have a look at this one as well. Of course, it's against the higher trend, but you can see why I only want to target the second and the third higher time frame candle. It's your highest probability situation. You don't know if you're going to get a fourth and a fifth candle. This is probably with a higher time frame trend, like the daily or the weekly is pushing it, but it's not always guaranteed, right? So moving down to the lower time frame. So I've showed you the 4-hour. I'm going to delete this now. We don't need it. And then I'm setting my alerts on the indicator on the 3-minute time frame. Okay. And so you go down to the time frame that you want to set it on, or you can change it in the indicator, right? So you go down to the 3-minute, and then you set the alerts, and as Charlie said, all you have to do is use any alert function call, and you can see it's the same as chart there, 3 minutes. Automatically it will message you and say 4-hour 3-minute long entry on Dow, or 4-hour 3-minute short entry on Dow, because it's already considering the directional bias using the higher time frame TPM turning point candle. And you've already specified that you're looking for entries on the second and the third candle only. So that's all you have to do, and then create the alert. You're using the 4-hour time frame to show you the bias. And if you're only looking for the second and the third candle, you have this changed to 2. So the last thing I want to talk about is the Confluence time frame for your entry. It's got nothing to do with directional bias. So for your entry, if the 10-minute wave is at 0 or on the opposite side of 0, that is a huge confluence to tell you that you are in the correct trade. Okay, we're going to go down and look at a few of these examples now. You can even set the 10-minute as your entry time frame. You don't have to use the 3-minute. It just gets me in earlier, and I like that. All right. Sometimes the 10-minute will miss it because one of our filters, I'm going to use the 3-minute to start with, okay? One of our filters is that price for long positions needs to be under the open, and for short positions, it needs to be above the open. You guys can turn that off if you want, but I don't think you should. If you want the highest probability clean moves, you want to filter it by using the TPM turning point candle on the 4-hour is your higher time frame to give you the directional bias. You also want to filter by the open level. You're trying to catch the wick of the higher time frame candle, so it's important to keep these filters on. Okay, so let's have a look. I'm going to change, for the purposes of the video, the amount of candles, consecutive candles, to 8, just to show you the entry tags coming up on the screen, because this is such a massive sequence on Dow. Right, I'm just going to scrunch my screen now, and I'm going to show you, right? You get your TPM turning point candle telling you, in this case, it wasn't the first blue candle in a consecutive sequence of candles. That unfortunately wasn't a TPM candle, so it only picked it up from here, right? From that point onwards, you are only looking for long positions if the conditions are met. So price has to be below the open, right? And then the wave needs to be under 0. and it has to be dotting. But you can see here, by the time it confirmed, it was above the open. Therefore, it does not alert you to the trade. All right, so let's just have a look at a few of the entries. That one was great. This one is also amazing. This is why I use the 3 minute, because I can guarantee you, I'm going to circle this, even though the 10 minute is an amazing Confluence, you're not going to get these ones alerting on the 10 minute. But we can go and have a look and see how good it would be, right? So those are your entries, and yes, this is the alert that will come through on your phone, on TradingView. Let's just have a look. Here's the 10-minute time frame, and as I said to you, the best Confluence is if the wave is at 0 or on the opposite side of 0, right? So you can see here, if you were just setting it on the 10 minute, you would have missed this alert, because by the time you get the confirmation, price is back above the open of the 4-hour candle. So you don't get the alert, right? And here, price never went under the open, so you don't get the alert. You're not catching the bottom wick. There is no bottom wick on this candle. But this one's amazing. Let me stretch it out for you. Wave is under, price is under, and that's the perfect Confluence because it's a 10 minute, right? So you can see that entry's clean. Basically hardly any, if any at all, drawdown. It just goes. And this one was great as well. You got the alert. If you had entered, there was absolutely no drawdown. That's an amazing trade. But like I say, I prefer setting the alerts on the 3 minute just to give you some space. But the 10 minute is the Confluence, okay? All right, let's look at the shorts. I'm just going to do a bar replay to this area, and we can have a look both at the 3 minute and the 10 minute just to see what it looks like. So let's just start on the 3 minute anyhow. There you go. I mean, those entries are pretty, phenomenal. I think I caught this short for the leap on Dow. It wasn't clean. I didn't use Charlie's indicator for this short. But I did use Charlie's indicator on gold, which I'm going to show you. All right, so that's pretty clean. It's the only entry. So you are entering on the second candle of a sequence of consecutive trending candles on your higher time frame, which is the 4-hour time frame, and it confirmed here is the first candle. You caught the second candle. There wasn't really an entry on the third candle, okay? So let's look at the 10 minute and see if the Confluence remains true. Amazing, okay? So the 10 minute wave was either at 0 or on the opposite side of 0 as well. It was above 0, so you could have just set it on the 10 minute, but like I say, 3 minutes preferable if you want to get an early signal and you don't want to miss anything, and then you can just check that 10 minute Confluence. Amazing trade. Like, that's a huge move. If DBT is watching this video, he's always measuring and telling me how much you get, for this and that, based on what you're risking. And I know that that's a massive move. If that's the only move you get in a week for futures, you're done. Okay, let's review those rules on my gold short that I took. I caught the third 4-hour candle in a sequence of consecutive trending candles. So let me go down to start with. We'll do the 3 minute, and just remember that I've extended the entries to 8 candles at the minute, which is a bit excessive. I'm going to do bar replay quickly just to where the sequence of the 4-hour time frame comes to an end. So you get the TPM turning point candle telling you that you are potentially going to get consecutive bearish candles on the 4-hour time frame, and you are just hunting the top wick of those 4-hour candles. Nothing on the second candle, right? But you do get the third candle, and yes, that first one is not great. Okay, we're going to look at the 10-minute Confluence and see what happens. So let's just mark it up there, and then we'll change the 10 minute and have a look and see. My entry was fine. It was always safe. I did not take this. I marked it up to forward test it because I don't like entering beyond the third candle because it's never guaranteed, and I get worried that we're running out of trending space, so to call it, on the higher time frame. That was also an incredible move. I'm just going to move to the 10 minute, and let's just have a look at our Confluences and see how good it is, right? So you've got the wave that is opposite 0 or at 0, remember that. You see, this one won't count because price is not above the open of your higher time frame candle. If it's not above the open of your higher time frame candle, you're not catching the wick. You can't consider that. And you can see there's no tag because I have that as a filter. You need to be above if you're shorting. And here you are again. The wave is above, at 0 or above. Okay. And there's your tag. So look, if you want to just set the 10 minute as your tag paired up with the 4-hour, that is literally the alert that you're going to get. it's going to come through on your phone or your computer. And again, I know that these moves are massive. I caught this one, I think, just in the body. I didn't hold it for much longer, so I left a lot on the table. Let me get out of bar replay and I'll show you that entry. All right, there you go. You can see it. Okay, that was where I sold. Just don't get confused by this. This is the overlay showing you the top wick of the 4-hour candle was where this candle had reached up to. So this is just part of the overlay. It's not actual price that's stopping me out of my move. I was full, you know, into profit from that entry onwards. It was great. All right, let's look at the ones that I missed this for the rest of the week. I think there was another short sequence. Let's have a look here. So because we're on the 10-minute time frame already, it's great. It's showing you that was the entry that you could have had. Again, no drawdown. You can see the confluences. You're at 0 or you're on the opposite side of 0. So I just want to mark up this one because this one's obviously gone. But you can see here even, right, you've got the bearish 4-hour TPM turning point candle. And this is a bullish candle, but it's not a bullish TPM turning point candle. Even that entry was amazing, all right, because it's basically, it's just pulling up on the blue wave. So if you want to set it only on the 10-minute, that was a great entry. I would argue that when price was live, this one could have been an entry because the wave could have been at 0, as we've said. Price was above the open on this candle, but we have to see if the 3-minute would have given us an alert, and then you would have had to have checked if the wave was at 0 on the 10-minute at that time. So let's just go back to the 3-minute. Right, so the alert there was the same. It was just one alert that you got for that entry anyway. It was just one alert that you got for that entry. And like I said, you just need to check that the 10-minute is giving you that confluence and you get that scalp. This would have been a problem on the 3-minute, as you can clearly see, because you had an opposing candle. You didn't have just straight consecutive bearish candles. So that's where the 10-minute cleans a lot of these problems up. But I'll just show you one more example, and this is futures on Ethereum. So you can see with this is your 4-hour TPM turning point candle bearish. So we're looking for shorts on the 2nd and the 3rd candle, and those are the 3-minute entries. So you got 3 tags. I'm just gonna highlight them. Let's see if we get our confluence on the 10-minute time frame, and you do, the wave is either at 0 or opposite side of 0, and you get your tags, you get your scalp, and that's it. You're done. So guys, if you want access to the TPM overlay entries indicator, it is in the TPM Discord. You can get there by following the link in the bio. Ask me any questions if you have, guys. Thanks for watching.